Frölunda defenseman Rasmus Dahlin.
All right. Well, we're beyond the box score, and we're back, and that was a little clip from the 2018 NHL draft. Connor's very excited.
Well, I've been
about
waiting
it.
all summer to play that on our first show.
There we go.
I've been saying every single puck chat that we've had over the last 2.5 years, the Sabres need help on the blue line. Now they get a guy who's being compared to some of the greatest defensemen in the game right now, Rasmus Dahlin. God, I cannot wait to see him play. It's going to be fantastic. But, Cole, we missed so many things when we were gone, and we cannot wait to start talking about them.
Yeah. First of all, welcome back. Welcome back, everybody, tuning in.
My apologies. I'm just too excited to start talking.
He's very excited. But, yeah, and what Connor said, we're going to start off with what we missed. Summer 2K18. We're going to go rapid fire. Ready, set, go. All right, well, we're going to start back in April. We kind of missed it. We didn't do a show. NFL draft, Baker Mayfield goes #1 overall to the Cleveland Browns, Connor. We were talking about what QBs in this draft are going to be a bust, which will boom. We'll definitely get more in depth about that as we go. But he was the #1 overall pick. Still seems to be the backup behind Tyrod Taylor, the late Buffalo Bill.
We'll get there
The
in a little bit.
late Buffalo Bill. All right, next up. We'll go to the NBA here. The Warriors win their third title in 4 years, beating the Cleveland Cavaliers yet again over LeBron James. 4-game sweep, and it's now a dynasty. And then we head to the NHL Stanley Cup
Alexander
final.
Ovechkin and company finally getting a Stanley Cup to etch their name on. It was long overdue, and Cole, you marked right here next to it when you made up our notes that they partied like it.
Partied
TJ Oshie,
hard.
Alex Ovechkin and company, they took over the streets of Washington, D.C. for weeks. They took over the whole entire country and just partied like it was no tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And, it's nice to see them finally get a cup. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But then following that, I already talked about it. Sabres finally won the draft lottery after so many years of pain watching them play hockey. They selected Rasmus Dahlin. A lot of other big moves that we'll talk about in a little bit as well.
Yeah, and then LeBron goes to the Lakers. I think a lot of people saw it coming. Some people were shocked, but the king comes to the king of cities, and I'll get more into that on Cole's Corner. We'll get to that in a couple days. And then Connor, MLB, the Red Sox get to 90 wins in August. They on pace to beat the 2001 Mariners record that they had with 116 regular season wins. So that's it. And then Connor, the last one.
Shortly before that, an acquisition that took the league by storm. John Tavares signed a deal with the Toronto Maple Leafs to go play in his hometown of Toronto, building that team even more. A superstar player like him, caliber that he brings, mixed in with the young talent they already have and the success that they've had recently ever since they got Austin Matthews. Watch out for them, and it's not good because Sabres going to be playing them a bunch due to their division.
Yeah.
Could only make that rivalry that much bigger, though. It's going to be fun watching them. We'll go back here. We'll go back for our rapid fire.
Yeah.
Talk about what we put next to Baker Mayfield going #1 overall. First, we'll talk about him. Cole, what week do you think we're going to see Baker Mayfield, if we see him at all?
Oh, well, here's the thing, Connor. Baker Mayfield should not see the field at all this season. He should not step onto the field this season. And why I think that is because he was the #1 pick. And a lot of people say you can't waste your #1 draft pick. You're not wasting him. Baker Mayfield needs time. And he is behind a vet quarterback right now, a field manager, and Tyrod Taylor. And I don't think he should see the field, but I can definitely see the Cleveland Browns panicking They have a tough schedule to start the year. They could go 1-4, 1-5, and they're just gonna panic and might throw Baker in there. And I just don't know if that's gonna be the best fit, throwing him into the fire like that.
I told a lot of people not to be surprised if the Browns go 9-7. And if Tyrod Taylor can take a very poor Bills team with a good rushing attack, that's really all they had was Shady McCoy. And they had no supporting cast when it comes to who we can throw the ball to, which is another reason why I think he got criticized way too much in Buffalo. Now, we talk about the whole Peterman debate. We talk about everything that happened last year when we would talk about Buffalo sports. But, you know, the supporting cast that he has in Cleveland with Jarvis Landry, I'm blanking out super hard right now, Josh Gordon, and we'll talk about Des Bryant later because if he goes there too, which there have been talks about him going to Cleveland, that's just going to make for another guy to get open, another guy that they're going to waste a secondary on. One of those guys is bound to be open. Those are 3 very good wide receivers, and that's going to make Tyrod's job a lot easier. But we saw that he had trouble with throwing across the middle of the field in Buffalo, something he needs to adjust on. But I think that offense could potentially be very good and help lead them. Potentially to be relevant, at least to be relevant.
Yes, I'm going with relevant. I'm thinking 9-7 is a stretch.
I'm be surprised if they end up, I guess, shocking people. But I'm saying
I'm going to be very surprised.
That's my hot take.
Bold move.
That's my hot
bold take.
Other quarterbacks.
I'm going 6-10.
Josh Rosen.
Josh Rosen is not going to see the field either.
Okay. What about Sam Darnold?
Sam Bradford has it. Sam Darnold is more likely to see the field. I think Darnold will take over. And, well, they're talking about, if you think about it, Teddy Bridgewater has been playing very well. And he has been compared to being better than a lot of the other starting quarterbacks in this league. So, this is where the Jets, it's on them. They could make a move. They could get picks for Teddy Bridgewater if they want to throw Sam Darnold into the fire. And Sam Darnold is in a position where he is being looked at as the best quarterback in this draft. A lot of people think that even though Baker Mayfield went 1, a lot of people think Sam Darnold is going to be the 1 out of the 5 that were drafted the first round that is going to be the long-standing quarterback, franchise quarterback in this league. So I think Sam Darnold has the best chance of getting out there earlier than any of these guys.
I think when it comes to who you have to start week 1, it's got to be either Bridgewater or McCown. We saw what McCown shocked a lot of people last year with how he made the Jets relevant along with their secondary being that good.
Josh McCown's going to be a coach soon.
The Jets have always been known for having an average to decent, sometimes even a very good defense over the last couple of years. But their offense has really been what's been lackluster. And I think McCown, they haven't really had a quarterback, and McCown actually kind of made it seem like they had a quarterback last year. An absolute NFL journeyman that's been everywhere. He's old as dirt, but he was probably playing the best football of his career last year. And I think when you have a guy who did that, who helped you win some football games, I think that, I don't want to say if it's fair or unfair, but I think that you need to at least give him the opportunity to try and continue his success from last year. Which is why I think the Bridgewater move kind of caught me a little off guard because, you know, with such a quarterback-heavy draft, like everybody was saying this draft would be, and with them having a relatively higher pick, why would you – because now that's their biggest problem is who are you going to start week 1? You have 3 quarterbacks that could go out there and compete.
Yes, you do. Darnold he's going to start eventually. Lamar Jackson, Connor, I think he has a somewhat decent chance of making it, and this is why. 2012-13, Joe Flacco brings the Ravens to the Super Bowl, wins the Super Bowl, and he has been phenomenal in the playoffs. Joe Flacco is an Eli Manning 2.0. He plays well in the playoffs. But since then, Joe Flacco has been one of the worst consistent quarterbacks in this league. And start a season rough here, Baltimore is going to be calling for Joe Flacco's head. And that's the only – it's kind of like a Cleveland situation where they might panic. And I don't know if Baltimore is going to panic as much as Cleveland will. But Lamar Jackson, if he can show what he can do, he's been okay. He's at best in the preseason. So Lamar Jackson has a shot, but I'm going with lower end of chance of getting in there around Thanksgiving. About week 7, 8, he could have a chance.
With that. I don't think that they would make that decision earlier than that.
No. First few weeks, it's easily Flacco, no doubt about it. But and then leaves us Mr. Josh Allen here in Buffalo.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you go first.
Me go first.
I want to know your thoughts.
Due to the injury to A.J. McCarron, Josh Allen is going to start week 1. And Sean McDermott kind of made that clear. And
so Josh Allen's going to start week 1?
Josh Allen is going to start week 1. Josh Allen is going to start week 1. He's going to be thrown into the fire immediately. Because here's this thing. How long is McCarron out until week 1?
McCarron has been, they said that he's almost fine. It's just kind of a nagging pain, but it's not anything that could potentially hold him out for week 1 if he was the starter.
So, it's up in the air, but I don't know, Connor. I have a weird feeling that Josh Allen is going to be thrown right in. And we've seen what he can do with his arm. He has a powerful arm.
His arm is almost too strong. He throws darts that the poor supporting cast that he has at wide receivers can't really handle the ball as well, but...
Well, I just remember you texting me when he threw a 60-yard pass down the field without even looking like he put much into it, and I thought you were just exaggerating a little by 60 yards, and then I watched it, and I was like, oh my God. So this dude has an arm, and there's no doubt that he can make plays. It's just whether if he's ready mentally, and that's the biggest thing with these rookie quarterbacks and why we debate it so much. But if there's a guy who's going to hit the field the quickest, I think it's Josh Allen. And a lot of people have a lot of doubts about that. A lot of people are excited about it. That's what you're going to get out of the Buffalo community anyway. They're very split in many different ways, kind of like the Tyrod situation last year. But
I wanted to throw you a shocking number because I don't know if you saw it. Because I don't know how much of Buffalo Bills preseason football that you've watched.
Just a little bit.
But they're not exact. They're, if anything, almost identical. Not exact, but these are Nathan Peterman's preseason stats right now. I'm almost positive he's 30 for 41. I don't know the exact yardage, but I know he's somewhere around the 420-yard mark with 4 touchdowns and 1 pick. That was a ball that glanced off of Chris Ivory's hands that he should have caught that fell into the hands of a defender.
Those are good numbers.
And I got to tell you right now, and the one thing that's
go.
The one thing that's holding me back from saying you need to start Peterman is the game against LA last year. And I feel like that's also, again, I don't want to use the word fair, but I feel like it's not fair of myself and other people, fans of the Bills, to say is to judge a guy off of one game. But then I also saw a tweet that was really intriguing where it was somebody tweeted, do you think if Peterman only threw 3 picks instead of 5 against the Chargers, would that make a difference in how people thought about him and how you would go about starting him this year? And I honestly think it would, because there is a huge difference between 5 picks and 3 picks. It's like 3 picks. You could still have a relatively decent day with 3 picks. If you're throwing for 300 to 400 yards and a couple of touchdowns, you can still make your stat line look a little bit more decent. But with 5 picks, it's just ugly.
Very ugly. Way too ugly, Connor.
But then here's my dilemma. You're going to go trade up for a pick, and you're going to go out and get a quarterback that you thought was your guy. If you're going to do that, you need to have full faith or full confidence that he can go out there and start for your team the very first year. And that's where I think Cleveland almost went wrong in getting Tyrod. if they knew they were going to get Baker number 1. Because I think, in my opinion, if you go for a quarterback in the top 10, top 9 picks of the draft, or somewhere where you're trading up to make sure that you get that quarterback in the first round, you need to have them start, in my opinion. Because you're basically saying that they're good enough to come right out of college and play at this level. And to have a quarterback that got drafted so high and has the athletic ability and is shown what he can do on a college football field, and have him sit behind some guy who hasn't built any type of a resume in the NFL yet, except for throwing 5 picks in one game last year. That's the one spot where I have a problem with Josh Allen not starting.
Yeah. I mean, so you're saying if you pick a quarterback in the top 10, you need to start him immediately. Is that what you're saying?
I think if you draft anybody in the first round within the top 20 picks, those guys should be almost ready to go immediately.
Okay. Because
you're looking at pretty much the 20 best players coming out of college football. And you got to think those guys should be NFL ready if you're going to take them that early.
And I understand what you're saying, and that's what we can get more into this another time. But
football is different. This is why football is different, because you don't have different teams to develop players. You're almost you don't have a farm system, and that's why it's different when you look at the MLB or if you look at the NHL. You can draft 18-year-olds out of high school who are still built like a twig. Well, they have all the talent in the world, but they're not, professional ready yet. But you know that you can develop them throughout your system, throughout your organization. In football, you can't do that. So I think early on in the draft, you need to get guys who are going to be the most NFL ready.
So you think that Baker Mayfield at number 1 was a mistake?
I don't want to agree or disagree, because I don't really have the intelligence of college football. I didn't watch Baker Mayfield as much in college. I don't pay much attention to college football.
But do you think he's ready to start for the Browns week 1?
Out of the preseason that I watched, I want to say yes, but I want to say no. He's not great in the pocket. He's way too... I don't know, because I was talking to somebody. I don't know if he was like that in college, but he looks like a bunny rabbit in the pocket. He is constantly moving. And I don't feel like that's going to be good for him. You can't really throw that well when you're jumping up and down on your tippy toes.
So, he thinks the first pick was a mistake. That's fine. So, mistake, maybe. We'll see. We'll talk more about the draft later, but that gets us into the NFL as a whole here, Connor. Let's, I don't know. We'll go with division picks last. Okay. Let's talk about the new helmet rule. And there's a new catch rule, too. They kind of fixed the catch rule, something we've been waiting for, where it's now way more realistic. Because one example I'm going to forever use, well, there's two. There's Des Bryant in Green Bay back in 2014. Then there's last year, in one of the biggest games of the season, the Jesse James touchdown taken away New England and Pittsburgh. That was a load of BS and S. That was terrible.
Barnacles.
The dude caught the ball, fell down, and reached over the goal line, which, if you're running the football, that's a touchdown every time. It should not be different than a catch.
It was almost the exact same play that Zach Ertz had in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. So, I don't know. And finally, I think they may have fixed it. We will see as the weeks go on, but I think the catch rule is fine. Let's talk about the helmet rule, because this is something that I think is going to affect the game a lot. This is a rule where this can affect a game in a major way. So let's just read the exact language of the rule first. It is a foul if a player lowers his head to initiate and make contact with his helmet against an opponent. Contact does not have to be an opponent's head or neck area. Lowering the head and initiating contact to an opponent's torso, hips, and lower body is also a foul. Violations of the rule will be easier to see and officiate when they occur in open space as opposed to close line play. But this rule applies anywhere on the field at any time. So you can't even use your head at all if you're tackling someone at the leg area, the upper thigh, the torso, the hip. It's everywhere. It's not just head to head anymore. This is if you're leading with your head in any way. And I don't know, Connor. It's a tough thing because we all know the severity of concussions these days. We all know what the CTE scans and the things that are messed up inside of these guys' heads after playing for years and years, more specifically 15 years or more. And these guys have serious issues, and that is understood. And no one here talking about the helmet rule is downplaying the severity of that, but at the same time, this is a game of football. These guys know what they're playing, and when you make a rule like this is something that is going to affect the outcome of some games this year, and I'm just waiting for it to happen. You could have a close game of teams trying to make their final drive with seconds left, and they throw a ball over the middle, and a guy makes a great defensive play but just gets his head in there, just the crown of his helmet gets in there and knocks the ball away. All of a sudden, that's a automatic first down. That team's they're going to score. Game over. And you lose because this guy goes in and makes a play what he's been taught to do his entire life.
That's the one thing that I really wanted to touch on that you already got is it's going to change the game, the outcomes of games, 10 times more. And we've seen, late calls in games where pass interference, it's like what is pass interference when both guys are fighting. We've seen that happen where guys will throw up deep balls and then next thing you know, the team that's down by 2 is in field. But I could see it now. Bills up by 1, up by 2. Other team on the 30-yard line. Somebody throws up a prayer after they beat the corner on the outside, and then Jordan Poyer comes in just trying to fight for the ball, and then accidentally just kind of nicks the guy's helmet with his helmet or his shoulder pad or something. And then it's going to be a 15-yard penalty for using the helmet. Bills lose. I can just see it happening now.
And it's not even just games that are going to have an outcome change. These are the players as well. They are up to ejection and fines.
I don't like Richard Sherman. I think he's arrogant. I think he's not a very good person. Good football player. But I think when it comes to how he carries himself, I think he's very outspoken. Even on the football field, that's the main reason why I don't like him. I think he just doesn't play the game the right. I understand you can't be nice in football, but I don't think he is fun to watch. He's kind of annoying to watch.
Where did this come from? Where did Richard Sherman? Okay.
He went on a Twitter rant.
Okay.
And everything he said was completely true. They said that they want them to start tackling. Or somebody made an argument saying, in defense to how do you tackle without using your head or without lowering your head. They said watch a perfect example of how to tackle in rugby. Richard Sherman found a video and it was called the perfect rugby tackle. The guy just lowers his head and basically spears the guy in the torso and then just takes him to the ground after grabbing his legs. But that, even if you miss 3 inches to the right and your head makes contact with the torso, that's technically what they're looking for. That's going to be a foul. And there's so little room for error when it comes to this. And we talk about all the sports too getting softer and ruining the game, but I think this is the one that really puts the cherry on top. This isn't football. And it's not only just the plays where they happen so fast. We've seen calls that have been already super controversial where a defensive player gets to the quarterback and maybe just lands on him a little bit too hard. Or what looks like just a normal sack. It just takes him to the ground, but he lands on top of him, and that's been a penalty because they said he led with his head. Or they've flagged him for roughing the passer. And this game is just not football anymore. If preseason is going to, or if the regular season is going to turn out how preseason has been with officiating, it's going to be brutal to watch.
And that's the problem I have with what you said. There's little room for error. These are guys that are going full speed, that have gone full speed their entire lives. That's the only speed they know. And they are 250, close to 300-pound guys ripped in muscle, and they're going full speed.
I'd much rather watch flag football.
And that's what it's going to turn into. A lot of people don't understand this. It's going to turn into a flag football league. Eventually, no one's going to watch this anymore. No one's going to want to play anymore. And you mentioned that no room for error and how they're going to tackle. They're going to be tackling. They have to have their heads on the side. You don't have your eyes up. When you learn how to tackle in football, when your eyes are up at all times. The way that they're making them tackle without using their head are going to be to the side. You can't see what you're tackling in front of you. There's going to be missed tackles. There's going to be someone's, I don't know who it was, saying, it was a secondary player saying yesterday that now we're going for legs now. That's not good because then you're going to have torn ACLs up and down rosters. And that's something they try to take away too. After a couple years ago, it was the helmet. It was targeting. Then it became, oh no, now we can't go for the legs because of knees. Now, where are they supposed to hit them? Where are we supposed to hit them? Where are we playing football?
You're supposed to grab their wrists and just drag them down like that.
Yeah.
But then that'll get outlawed because too many guys are hurting their shoulder.
Yeah. So,
I fully agree. I'm all for, keeping the game fun but also safe.
Yes.
Like, when it came to blue shots, like Vontez perfect, Antonio Brown cheap shots.
Yes.
Or
it's a whole nother ball game.
Danny Trevathan cheap shot. Like, that is what needs to be out of the game, and that is what I have no problem with being called a penalty. When guys are, this is another thing I want to touch on too. That has to tie with the helmet rule, but that is fine. Get that out of football. There's no place for that. All you're trying to do is basically hurt another person. You're not trying to actually play football. That's just you taking out your frustration and you being way too emotional to play the game of football. But even if it's just a guy trying to make a big time play and they're just moving at ridiculous speeds, it's not easy to make an adjustment. And I don't even play football. I just know that because you can watch it. But the other thing, the other rule, I don't know what you want to call it. I don't know what the name, the second party or third party rule, where a guy's already wrapped up, and then that second guy cannot come in and hit him. That, I think,
that's unbelievable.
It's a way too, the gray area is way too big.
Yes, because you see team tackles all the time.
I watched the one Bills preseason game. I think it was their first game, and I had no idea about this rule until they put it on the screen because it was called against the other team. But this guy was wrapped up. He was still fighting for extra yards. And this guy came in and just jumped on. He didn't lead with his head. His helmet made contact with him. Yes, it hit him in the shoulder pad. But he got flagged for the unnecessary roughness.
And that's another thing that ties back to how you learn to play the game of football. You're taught to run to the football until you hear the whistle.
Yep.
And if you have a teammate there trying to tackle someone, you go on and pile on there and take him down. What are you going to give him extra yards? We're just going to let running backs or receivers carry guys until they're brought down by the one guy because we can't come in as a secondary. What is that? And that's just another example of how this is turning more and more into an offensive league because every advantage is going in the direction of the offense. Yeah. There's no advantage for defense anymore.
This rule that I
can't hit.
This rule that I did just mention, though, I do agree with only if it is called the right way. Okay, like if you see a guy is fighting for extra yard, and yeah, guy's struggling, like he's just wrapped up, on his legs. This guy's still hobbling around, still kind of moving forward a little bit. Yeah, go in and make sure he gets down. But when you have the plays where a guy is perfectly wrapped up, you see him going down, and then that guy comes in with a cheap shot to the head or maybe even to the shoulder or something like that, where he's going down, there's no need for another guy to come in and get him. That is where, it's like, okay, he's down. But it's just like it needs to be called the right way. Which is why the helmet rule, I think, could be good if it's called the right way. Not every single time that there's head contact by the attacking player should be a foul. If it's called the right way, if they want to use this rule, if it's blatant, if it's dirty, if it's straight to the head, then call it.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's a guy just coming in and making a hard hit, but he misses with his shoulder pad because, both guys are moving at incredible speeds and just makes contact with the guy's torso, like, that's where I don't see it being appropriate. But
so
moving on.
Yeah, we can get back to that some other time, but I don't know.
Quick one. We'll do a quick one.
OBJ?
Hold on. I already said Browns. Where do you think Dez is going?
It's already week 4 of the preseason. Dez Bryant, he's either not going anywhere or it's going to be in the regular season. This is a guy. No, Connor.
I thought that earlier too.
Dez Bryant is a headache. Why else would the Cowboys let him go? They don't have any receivers right now. The Cowboys, Dez Bryant was their only option right now. They have Cole Beasley, yes, but he's a slot guy who gets left open sometimes. They have Tavon Austin. He's a problem. But there's a reason that Dez Bryant has not been signed yet. How it's. I don't think that anyone wants that, and he's not. And teams aren't sure that he's 100% healthy. I heard they're talking about it a couple of days ago. They had his meeting with Coach Hugh Jackson on Hard Knocks, but what they did not show is his workout. They didn't show one little bit of his workout, and that raises red flags to me. That means he might not be healthy, and they just don't want to put that out there. Or you know what I mean? Like, I just feel like at this point he's not healthy and he's not a great teammate.
If he does go somewhere, he's going to go to the Browns.
Maybe. I could see it maybe a couple weeks into the season, out of nowhere, he goes to some random team. But for right now, Dez Bryant's going nowhere. And what? We have breaking news.
Breaking news. The Saints trade for Jets quarterback Teddy Bridgewater.
No. Boom.
Yeah. That's,
well, look at that,
via
folks.
Adam Schefter got it from Bleacher Report.
So, is Sam Darnold going to start week 1 or what? Or are we going with McCown?
This is such a weird move to me, too.
It was going to happen eventually. I knew the Jets were going to make a move.
Teddy Bridgewater can start somewhere.
I know he can.
Why is he going to back up Drew Brees? Maybe they'll convert him to wide receiver.
Maybe they want Bridgewater to be the next QB after Brees is done. Well, that's going to be a couple more years. Anyway, well, there's your breaking news. We also had other breaking news we didn't bring up yet. Aaron Rodgers has signed a contract.
Speaking
we'll talk about that in a minute.
Cole, I'll let you take it away.
Odell Beckham Jr. yesterday, or was it 2 days ago, finally, him and the Giants finally came to an agreement. 5 years. $95 million, $65 million guaranteed. So, I don't know. It was coming. It was only a matter of time. Finally happened. There's been a lot of question marks surrounding OBJ and the Giants. He's had on-field, off-field issues. He's definitely a character. He's a diva. He wants things to go his way, and we see that a lot these days. But he's on top of that world right now. And just a few months ago, there's that video that surfaced of him in France with a woman, and some things were seen, and some, I don't want to talk about it, but and then the Giants held off after that. The Giants, it took them months and months to really crack and make a deal, and I think what did that was him coming to OTA's training camp on time and showing his work coming off an injury. And if you're a receiver of his caliber these days, you're going to get the money. You're going to get paid. It's just a matter of when, where, and who.
My opinion on it was make sure that he comes back the same way that he was when he went down, which I'm not questioning he will, but also make sure he's healthy. You don't want to waste all this money for a year just so he can go down in a preseason game or sometime early in the year again. I would have maybe held off a little bit longer.
And that's the question.
But then also, if you do, that could upset his camp.
Yeah, and that's the question. When is the right time to pay these players, especially coming off an injury? And that's where we'll transition into what I just mentioned, that Aaron Rodgers getting a deal.
Yep.
Aaron Rodgers coming off an injury.
I said the same thing with him. But, that was more of, he just got sacked the wrong way and landed on his shoulder the wrong way.
But he's also been injured many times. But he gets a 4-year, $134 million extension. $100 million guaranteed. $100 million guaranteed. And I don't know. I like it. Aaron Rodgers is flat out the most talented quarterback in this league. I'm not saying... I have already established the fact that Tom Brady is the greatest of all time. But right now, Aaron Rodgers is the greatest talent. Greatest talent in this league. And he deserves the money. He deserves to be the face of the Green Bay Packers. And it just goes to show how valuable he is. He went down last year, and the Packers absolutely wet the bed.
Yeah,
they wet the bed terribly. And without Aaron Rodgers, this Green Bay Packers team is not good. They don't have a defense, and it's just Aaron Rodgers is that guy, and he is getting his money, and he's the reason that he's back, and the Packers are already being put into the NFC conversation, and a really good NFC.
Speaking of which, too, Brett Hundley to the Seahawks today. You saw that, right?
Yeah.
Another strange deal.
Yeah, it's one of those that we'll never understand, but
but going back to
GMs
OBJ,
are thinking something.
Going back to OBJ, the guy who'll be staring at week 1. Jalen Ramsey goes
Woo!
up and talks about basically every quarterback in the NFL, talks trash about a lot of people in the NFL. I think this guy is a clown.
Ooh.
Absolute clown.
Really?
We talked about earlier on our Madai podcast the difference between being cocky and then confident. Like,
this guy's cocky.
He's good. I'll give him that. He's a very good defensive back. But to go out and rip people that have been in this league longer than him and have already built up more of a resume than him, to go out and say things calling, he called Big Ben trash, I think. He
called Big Ben okay.
Call him okay.
Or decent, one of those two.
But for the only two quarterbacks to really give props to was Deshaun Watson and Carson Wentz.
Who both got injured in their rookie season, even though they balled out. But here, Connor.
The fact that he even did this, and my problem with it is this is the NFL. It's not WWE or UFC. We do not need a promo. We don't need a press conference before the year of you starting all this trash talk, trying to hype up the season or doing whatever the heck it is you're doing. We don't need that. Prove it on the field. Don't say all this stuff now. It's preseason. Why are you coming out and saying this now? I don't get it.
I think that he can back it up, though. And that's the only thing, that's the only reason I'm kind of okay with it. He can back it up, and he has. And I know it's at a short period of time, but he has backed it up. So we'll see. That's the big question, is if he can back it up this year, because he did call out almost every quarterback in this league. And I'm with you on the part where I don't know how I feel about him calling out guys that have been in the league like 10 years longer than him. But one thing that didn't make sense. If you're going to say that stuff, though, you got to have something straight. You can't just... He said that Eli Manning is Eli Manning because of Odell Beckham Jr. Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls before Odell Beckham Jr. was even here. And he said the same thing about Ben Roethlisberger. He said he was because of Antonio Brown. Ben Roethlisberger's both Super Bowls were without Antonio Brown. So, I mean, the man is, yes, he's cocky. He can back it up. He has a loud mouth. It's his personality. That's who he is. And I'm not going to take that away from him. But if you're going to go off like that, you need to at least make sense. At least make sense. You can't. Those two things were the most blasphemous things on there that he said. But
all right, we're going to close out our NFL segment before we jump into the MLB. NFL division picks. We'll hold off on wild card. Let's do division picks for now.
Yeah, we'll just go in order.
All right, we'll start with the
first
AFC
to
East.
last. AFC East. May I go?
Yep.
Patriots are going to win the division yet again. They're going to go 10-6. Then we're going to maybe we'll see. We don't need them, but I'm just. Patriots are going to get in. They're going to win the AFC East again. It's going to be.
AFC
Sorry
North.
to say this. No. Listen. The Patriots are going to win the division, and the rest is just going to be a mess. I'm sorry, Connor. It's going to be a mess.
Okay.
I think it's going to be the Buffalo, New York, and Miami are all going to have losing records. I think it's going to be the Jets at 7-9, and the Bills and Dolphins at 6-10. Connor, give me a face. What do you have to say about
Their
that?
defense is going to be the reason why they're going to be 500.
Okay.
They're going to go 8-8.
We got 8-8 and 6-10 here. Okay. AFC North. The Steelers are going to win that division.
I agree with both so far.
Steelers are going to win that, and then it's
Those are also kind of easy, though, because the AFC North is kind of...
Ravens, Browns,
Don't sleep
Bengals.
on the Browns, though. Don't sleep on the Browns.
I'm not.
Telling you.
AFC
South.
South. This is the tough one.
This is going to be a fun one. There's so many
It's
good
fun.
stories for every single... Andrew Luck, Jacksonville, after finally getting to the playoffs, having a good young
Deshaun
team.
Watson
Their
coming
nasty
back.
defense. Deshaun Watson coming back. And then Marcus Mariota trying to continue what he did last year with Tennessee when they were coming down to the wire. This is going to be a fun division.
Yes.
This could be a division where
Both Souths
we have
are
at
fun.
least 3 teams fighting for that division spot at the end of the year.
Yes. Both Souths are going to be fun. But the AFC South, here. I hate to do this. And I'm a fan of the Jacksonville Jaguars and what they did last season. And I want them to do well. I think they're going to take a major step backwards this season. The Jacksonville Jaguars, what did they finish last year? 13-3. What happened now? What are we doing?
Teddy Bridgewater had to get off the Jets bus after finding out he was dealt to the Saints. So this man's on a bus with the Jets
Oh,
with his team.
man.
I'm guessing traveling for their
That's
game.
terrible.
And was told to get
Sorry,
off the bus.
Teddy.
Or sorry, Teddy.
Ted. That's terrible. Anyways, back to the AFC South. The Jacksonville Jaguars are going to take a step backward. I don't know how big of a step, but they're going to take a step. And I think that the Houston Texans are going to win this division behind Deshaun Watson.
I think the
And
Texans.
the Indianapolis Colts are going to be right there with Jacksonville looking for a wild card spot.
I think Houston's going to win the division, but I think you're wrong about Jacksonville. I mean, the only way I see that, I think their defense will be very good, but I don't think they'll be as dominant as they were last year.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
But the Colts, I think, are the biggest wild card in this. Actually,
It is.
along
They
with
are.
the Titans, because you don't know how great Andrew Luck is going to be, but I think Andrew Luck does not get enough credit. I think he's
No.
a very good quarterback, and a lot of people think that he's not good.
I don't know who thinks that, but that's unbelievable because Andrew Luck is one of the best raw talents we've seen in the NFL. This man came right out of the draft and brought the Colts to 11-5 for 3 straight seasons. He's a horse, and just because of injury is the only reason the Colts have been one of the worst teams in the league the last couple of years. And I don't know. That's
You want to talk about wild cards, though? I think every team in the AFC West is a wild card,
yes,
except for
Yes.
the Broncos.
yes.
Broncos will be the worst team in that.
I don't know. I'm not counting the Broncos out because
What, Chad
we
Kelly's going to steal
no.
a starting job and lead them to...
No, we saw what Case Keenum did last year, and he was not the best quarterback, but and I know the Vikings were a great overall team, but Case Keenum played out of his mind, and that's what I'm going to be looking at, is if he can do that again. Because the Broncos' defense is not going to be terrible. They still have Von Miller. They got another draft pick. The defense is going to hold them together. It's up to Case Keenum and how he takes this offense. With that said, though...
I would like to see Patrick Mahomes tear it up for Kansas City.
Oh, me too.
He would be extremely fun to watch in Kansas City with that offense.
I think Kansas City has the best shot of winning this division.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Who do you have, the Raiders?
I was going to say the Raiders or the Chargers.
The Chargers, I have a lot of faith in. The Chargers are my second team to win this division. I have Kansas City, Los Angeles, Oakland, Denver. And here's why. Oakland kind of scares me. Oakland is a team that they just hired John Gruden on a big contract. This guy's been out of the league for 10 years. 10 years he's been in the booth calling Monday Night Football. And I have no problem with this. But John Gruden took until preseason to talk to his defensive captain, Pro Bowler Khalil Mack. John Gruden is a very old school coach. He has not coached since 2008. He's going to come into this scene, and I don't know how well that's going to turn out. I think they'll respect John Gruden, but, Connor, I don't know how. The Raiders have weapons, but last year they were supposed to be good, and they did not do well at all. Missed the playoffs again. I think they have the most potential. The Raiders have the most potential in this division, but I don't think they're going to get it done fully. I have more faith in Phillip Rivers and the LA Chargers over the Oakland Raiders. So, with that, I don't know, Connor. You like the Raiders.
I
but
do
that's
like the
just
Raiders
what I'm
because
thinking. Those are my thoughts on the Oakland Raiders.
I think when everybody gets adjusted to this new system, that's always a big question mark. But Derek Carr has shown signs of being elite. He's shown signs of also being average. But I think if he plays to the highest level that he can, and with the team he has around him, I think they have the potential to be a very, very good football team.
They do, and that's what scares me.
I do think that the Chiefs and the Broncos are probably the big wild cards. Not going to lie, I kind of was underselling Case Keenum a little bit when thinking about the Broncos. But with the Chiefs, I mean, they're the wild card, not wild card team, but the biggest. You don't know what you're going to get because of Mahomes. You don't know what you're going to get with Patrick Mahomes under center.
We don't, because we've heard of them. They talk about them a lot.
They have a good defense, and they have a lot of good guys on the offensive side of the ball with Kareem Hunt, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce.
That's the thing. He's got a lot of weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of weapons.
Now Mahomes is also a quarterback who can move around the pocket pretty well and also run the ball himself. I mean, they could be a very dangerous team, but it also could be, kind of a disappointment if Mahomes underperforms.
All right, the NFC, and this is where it gets really tough. Outside of the AFC South and the West, I don't know. The NFC has definitely more power, more power squads on this side. And it's kind of like last year, and it's between the Philadelphia Eagles, New Orleans Saints, the Minnesota Vikings, the LA Rams, the Atlanta Falcons. This year, the Green Bay Packers thrown back in the mix because of Aaron Rodgers is back. This is a conference that has a lot of power teams that they have a chance to do anything. And we'll start with the NFC East. I think this is the Philadelphia Eagles' division to lose. And I say that because I think the Eagles are by far the best team going into this season, but it's their division to lose because it's not easy coming back from a Super Bowl appearance and a victory. This is a team that dominated last year, even when their star quarterback Carson Wentz goes down. Nick Foles not only takes the keys, runs with it, but he wins the Super Bowl MVP. The Eagles are the front runners in the NFC, but you have a Dallas Cowboys team that is returning another good offensive line and two guys who made their mark on this league in their rookie season. Last year was a bit of a step down. Obviously, the issues with Ezekiel Elliott, but Dak Prescott still had a good season last year. And he can do things with this team and this division. And the Dallas Cowboys have the next best shot at winning this division. Then you get into the New York Giants, and I don't want to be biased about it. And that's why I try not to talk about the Giants. But the Giants are the wild card team to me in this conference, because this is a team that was supposed to be good last year. They were supposed to win the NFC East, do something in the playoffs after coming off an 11-5 season. But a couple bad losses in the first couple weeks, lose every single starting wide receiver, and Ben McAdoo lost control of that locker room. The Giants slipped, win 3 games all year. This year, you got Odell Beckham Jr. back, who we just talked about, got his new contract. Eli Manning's back. We'll see what he can do. Sterling Shepard's back. Evan Ingram's a year older. The Giants have a very good chance to make some noise, but they could also fall apart very easily like they did last year, and that's why they're a wild card. Exactly. And that Saquon Barkley's a wild card. I don't know how he's going to be an every down back for the Giants, but it just depends on how they use him, I think, and that's going to be up to the coaching and Pat Shurmur, who we just brought in, offensive juggernaut coming from Minnesota. So the NFC East is going to be up for grabs. The Washington Redskins still aren't there yet, I don't think. I think the Redskins pull the weight at the bottom of the division again, but it's going to be a battle between how well the Dallas Cowboys come off of last year's disappointment. So it's Philadelphia's division to lose. So in final, though, I'm still going to go with the Eagles winning the division. But I think it's only going to be by a game.
I hate doing these and then always agreeing, because I think it makes it a lot more fun when we disagree.
Exactly.
But, it's hard not to pick the Eagles. I mean, we saw what Carson Wentz can do. They have 2 to 3 running backs who are capable of making some noise. They have great wide receivers, Zach Ertz as a tight end, and they have an outstanding defense. And they have a kicker that can kick 60-yard field goals with no time left to win games for you. At Cole.
That's not funny. That is not funny. Okay. Anyways, well, NFC North. Here we go. NFC North.
Time for Cole to pick the
This
Packers.
is going to be tough. Well, you're picking my pick for me. How does that work?
Because I know you're going to pick the Packers, because you
Why
just
is
told
that?
me that Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in football.
You're right. Yes. I think the Packers do win this division this year. Aaron Rodgers. And we talked about it. I already talked about it earlier. And it's so tough, and it's going to be a lot on the Packers' defense. But if they can step up and make some plays, if you give Aaron Rodgers the way, he's going to make plays for you. And the Minnesota Vikings, I don't know what to think. Kirk Cousins has been glorified for years and years. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know if I have all the faith in Kirk Cousins that a lot of people do. I don't know if he's going to come into this ring of fire in Minnesota where they just went 13-3, dominated the NFC, had a miracle win in the playoffs, but then got smoked in Philly in the NFC title game. There's a lot of high expectations in Minnesota, especially after nabbing Kirk Cousins, who also, by the way, we found out turned down $90 million from the Jets in the offseason. We'll get to that some other time. But then you have the Mitch Trubisky Bears. Mitch Trubisky, I think, was highly overdrafted last year. He has some potential. I don't think it's there. The Bears are going to be terrible. Detroit is in the mix again, and this is the thing. When you have Matthew Stafford behind center, that team is going to be around 500 and fighting for a spot every season. Matthew Stafford can ball. But I just don't think there's enough around that Detroit Lions team to really contend with the Vikings and Packers. So I'm going to go Packers, Vikings, Lions, Bears.
I'm picking the Vikings to win this division. I'm going against what you kind of said. I think Kirk Cousins is going to have the best year of his career this year.
Ooh.
And I'm telling you, with Adam Thielen and Stephon Diggs to throw to, it's going to be very easy for you to have a very good year. And Kyle Rudolph. I think this could potentially be one of...
Say it.
the closest...
Say it. Say it. I want to hear it. Are you going to say this is going to be one of the best offenses?
Biggest controversies for MVP at the end of the year for Kirk Cousins.
MVP.
Yes.
That's not where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to say this has a chance to be one of the best offenses of all time.
Kirk Cousins made a Washington Redskins offense look very decent. Very good.
Yeah. There.
You put him in Minnesota for a team that's already been successful last year with Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, and Kyle Rudolph. This is my hot take, and I have confidence putting out this hot take.
That's a complete...
He can compete for MVP.
That's the only thing I have against Kirk Cousins. I think he's a good quarterback. I think the problem they're going to have is him coming into a team that just finished 13-3, and him being the franchise tagged QB in Washington over and over again. He was the biggest guy in the market, and he goes, I just have a feeling that something's going to go wrong here. And I'm just being pessimistic about it.
I don't. I think everything's going to go right for Minnesota. I don't know if they'll go 13-3 again, though, because, having a record that great is kind of hard to do. But I think they will win this division.
Okay. All right.
South.
That is the South is a dumpster fire in both conferences, man. This is going to be a battle, and it's between three teams. I'm already writing one of them off. And that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because Jameis Winston isn't going to be there for the first 3 games, and that's already a team that has a lot of holes, and Jameis Winston still hasn't really proved himself yet. So without him on the field, they're going to start 0-3 anyways. So they're already done. If you start 0-3 in that division, you're done. Panthers, Falcons. The Falcons have proved their dominance in the NFC, going to the Super Bowl 2 years ago. Last year, they were one Julio Jones catch away from knocking off the what would be Super Bowl champions. And the New Orleans Saints, a team that just got very, very unlucky on the last play of a game in the playoffs. The Minnesota Miracle on the wrong end of it. This is a Drew Brees-led team. Drew Brees has been one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the league for the last 10 years. And then your Carolina Panthers, always in the mix when they have a guy like Cam Newton can make plays at any moment, any time. But I don't know. I'm going with the New Orleans Saints to win the South.
God. Cole,
Are we agreeing again? Are we agreeing?
Yes.
So if we're agreeing again,
I
I can go
were
another route.
You were definitely going to go Atlanta. I thought you were, but no. I mean, we then we could talk about it. It's fine.
I just think the Saints have too many weapons.
Exactly, because Kamara,
the two-headed monster out of the backfield,
broke
Ingram
out on
and
the
Kamara.
scene. And I think he's going to have another monster year if he's going to play a whole season. If he, regarding if he's healthy, Drew Brees is still one of the best quarterbacks in the game right now.
Top
even
3.
though he's been around forever.
Top 3.
Quarterbacks can play a while, and Rodgers, Brady, Brees.
Yeah,
I would agree with them. But no, he's definitely a quarterback who's still plenty capable of leading a team to the postseason, and then whatever happens there happens. I think they can come away with this division. My thoughts on it though is the Panthers are almost kind of like a toss-up team for me because we've seen what Cam Newton can do when he's on, but we've also seen him when he was off. I think something that will be big for them is if Christian McCaffrey could turn more into a runner rather than just a pass catcher out of the backfield.
That's the biggest question mark.
Tampa, I fully agree with as well when it comes to, is Ryan Fitzpatrick still their backup?
Or Mike Glennon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah, Fitzpatrick's starting week 1. I'm pretty positive.
So without Jameis Winston, I mean, they're also not that solid of a team all around either.
I think after the emergence of the Saints defense last year, which was missing for years, I think the Saints easily became the best overall team in this division. And I take them over the Falcons because of that. I think their defense has evolved so much in the last 2 years that they are definitely the front runner in this South. And it's their division to lose. And I said it with the Eagles. It's up to them if they win it because they have the team to do it. It depends on how they do down the stretch in these division games. And it's going to be traveling to Carolina and Atlanta.
Atlanta is a team that I think is going to be the closest coming to compete with New Orleans for the division. Matty Ice still I would say he's top 5 right now. Debatable. I have to think it over
Very
more.
Debatable.
But with him, Julio, Freeman, Foreman, Hooper, a lot of weapons on the offensive side.
Yep.
Good defense, but not as good as the Saints. And honestly, I don't even know if their offense is as good as the Saints. It's a toss-up.
No, I don't think it is.
It's close.
That's very close, but I don't think it is. And the West.
The West.
Oh, this is going to be a fun one, too, because I think that this might be the end. This might be the end of the Seattle Seahawks Legion of Boom. The Legion of Boom is gone. That thing is gone. Sherman left. Chancellor's going out the door. Bennett's gone. The Legion of Boom is gone. It's a matter of what Russell Wilson can do, and I love Russell Wilson. That dude can ball. He's a great leader for the Seattle Seahawks team, and their success has been because hindered by him a lot of the way. But I think this might be the end. This might be the end of Pete Carroll in Seattle. Not saying they're going to have a terrible year, but they're not going to make the playoffs. This is going to be... The West is going to be dominated by the Los Angeles Rams this season. The San Francisco 49ers are right there. And with Jimmy Garoppolo taking over, went 5-0 at the end of last season. They're gonna make it tough for LA. But it's going to go LA, San Fran, Seattle, and Arizona. Arizona's right there. Arizona has a good football team, but I feel like at this moment in time, they are not ready to compete with the other teams in this division.
Who did you say was going to win?
The Rams. But I can make a case for the San Francisco 49ers just because of Jimmy Garoppolo. And that's the thing. If you want to disagree on this, I will pick the San Francisco 49ers to upset.
No, it's fine. I don't want to make you change your pick. It's more fun when we debate.
But that's the thing. I think the Arizona Cardinals are very close. I think Carson Palmer's done. He retired, and they drafted Josh Rosen, but they have Sam Bradford at the helm. And Sam Bradford has proven to be he's a mediocre quarterback, but he can win games. But there's just not enough around Arizona right now. They have David Johnson back, and they have some weapons. Larry Fitzgerald's still there, still the biggest horse in the NFL.
That's the only thing that they have going for them is Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson with a couple mixed in decent defenders.
Yeah, and that's still a question because who knows how long Larry Fitzgerald can keep up what he's done. Who knows if David Johnson's going to stay healthy. And that's why Arizona I think is being pushed off to the side at the bottom of this division right now. So I think the Cardinals have a decent shot at maybe going 7-9. But that division, if they do though, it's going to be a very tight division, and they could even sneak over Seattle. I have Seattle going 7-9 as well. But it's going to be a dogfight between LA and San Fran, our two California teams, Connor.
Looking at this LA Rams team, it's not even funny. They could give the Eagles a run for their money for the best team in football, I think.
I think they already have. I think overall roster-wise, the LA Rams,
are
right
going to win the NFC
the
this year.
Eagles.
They're going to win the NFC.
Connor is calling a shot. So you think they're going to the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Okay. There's Connor's Super Bowl pick already.
See, I hate.
I already have mine. I'm not going to disclose it yet.
I hate making picks right now
Yes,
because
we're
you
in week 4
never
of
know
preseason.
what's going to happen in the playoffs. You really don't.
Or
Anything.
regular season.
We always say it.
as is.
Anything could happen. But if everybody stays healthy on this Rams team, they will be the best team in the NFC. They'll clinch home field advantage, get the bye. They'll be the best team in the NFC. I mean, bringing in Brandon Cooks. Oh.
Yeah. And just not even that, but just the talent they have all the way around and how they're not spending a lot of money on them right now. And that might catch up to them soon, but if you look at it, they're paying Jared Goff, Todd Gurley, Aaron Donald in rookie contracts still. And those are 3 of their best players. And then they bring in Marcus Peters to be a lockdown corner, and then Ndamukong Suh, which I don't know what to say about that dude. I've never liked him, but he can plug up the middle. Yeah, and you have Aqib Talib out there too. And so this is a team that could be one of the most dominant all-around teams in the league. It's just a matter of if everything meshes right with you're still only a third-year quarterback in Jared Goff. He did well last year. It's up to him if he can continue that success. So it's going to be fun. I'm very excited for football this year. This is one of the most excited I've been for football in a while. But we got to wrap it up with some baseball.
Okay.
And Connor wanted to talk about, the first thing was the biggest surprises here in the MLB this year. We are now towards the end of August, so 1 month remaining before we get into one of the most fun time of the year is October, where we're in swing of football in the MLB playoffs. So
I already told you who my biggest surprise was. It's almost like when teams try to rebuild, they end up being good.
Yeah.
So like with the Yankees last year, but now Tampa is 70-62 right now when they just unloaded everybody in the offseason this year, trading away Chris Archer. They're probably my biggest surprise team. When it
kind of
comes
disappoints me too. I wrote them off so bad, and I talked a lot of poop about them a long time ago.
When you think about teams who have dramatically underperformed, I think the first team that comes to mind is Washington. Sorry, Kyle. Like, for them to be only a game above 500 going into tonight, you really can't make up a reason why.
No.
Like, you look at their lineup top to bottom, the depth they have, the emergence of Juan Soto, the pitching they have.
The pitching
on
they
paper.
have. With Max Scherzer leading, there's not much more Max can do for this team.
Another team
leader
that we talked about also, I want to give a big shout out to our boy Dean Adams here at Madai. Dean, if you're listening, I was wrong. Okay, you win, I lose. You told me back in about March or April that the Phillies were going to be the real deal this year. You told me not to write them off. And I told you I didn't think they were going to be ready. And I didn't think they were going to be relevant or be able to be close to a playoff spot this year. But I said maybe in the future because they have a lot of good young talent. But as of right now, Dino, they are only 4.5 out in the National League East. And they are... Come on.
National League wild card.
2.5 out of the wild card. With a lot of baseball left, Dean. So, anyway, I was wrong. You were right. Philly, big shock this year. But honestly, they could be winning this division or leading the division if it wasn't for Atlanta.
That entire division is a surprise. If you look at it, you said Washington was most disappointing. How disappointing are the New York Mets right now? They're
Especially
supposed to.
when they won the first 10 games or something like that.
I had them as a wild card pick.
Miami's doing.
I had Washington.
Miami's doing
winning.
what we thought. We knew
Yes,
Miami was not going to be.
But the other 4 are completely flipped. At the beginning of the year, I had Washington winning the division and the Mets coming in close second, winning a wild card spot. With Atlanta and Philly right around 500. Building to what is going to be successful soon. They have emerged. They have surprised everyone, and they're in full control of this division right now, and one of them is very close to maybe getting a wild card spot. And it just that whole division just flipped completely opposite of what we all thought, which is kind of fun to see.
The Cubbies really running away with the Central now. A couple weeks ago, everybody in that division, Chicago, St. Louis, Milwaukee, and then even Pittsburgh. When I went down to Pittsburgh for a tournament for the team that I coached this summer, Kyle and I stopped at a Pirates game. It was when David Freese had all 5 RBIs, had a walk-off to win in the 9th. They were, I believe, after that win, I want to say they were only 5 games back in the division, and I think 2 or 3 back in the wild card. I'm not positive, don't quote me, but I remember because I wasn't really paying, a lot of attention to baseball at the moment. I was super caught up with the team I was coaching, and I was like, I thought Pittsburgh was, underperforming and not really close. It's like I did not think they were this close, but they were close. Now Pittsburgh kind of fallen off. They are 14.5 in the Central and 8.5 in the wild card.
Yeah, the Cubbies have definitely just taken off.
But the division that we always talk about for the last couple of years, where we said that there could be 3 teams from this division to make it in the postseason. It's Arizona, Colorado, and LA, respectively.
It's
in the
looking
West.
that way right now.
Arizona and Colorado, are dead even right now at 72 and 60. And the Dodgers, who got off to a really
weird start.
Yeah.
Weird.
Wasn't good. But they've been playing much better baseball as of late. They're still 1.5 back in the wild card.
Yeah. So the Dodgers. I mean, I fully believe the Dodgers are still going to find their way in there. It's a matter of who they're knocking out in the process, whether it's Arizona or Colorado, because there's a very good chance that still 3 of those teams make it, but like we said, the Phillies are right there knocking on the door, so we'll see what happens. That's going to be very exciting when it comes down to it.
Going over to the AL now, just running down the divisions.
American League.
The absolutely stacked powerhouse league that the American League is this year.
Well, here, kind of. It's stacked as in it's very top heavy. But the rest of the league is very, very bad.
There's 4 teams in the AL with 80 wins, and there's 0 in the NL.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying by top heavy. Because the rest of the divisions are nowhere close. Other than our top 4 with Boston, New York.
You got teams like Baltimore who only have 39 wins, Kansas City with 41, and nobody has less than that in the NL either.
Mm-hmm. So,
but you talk about a team like Boston, which we're going to get to in a little bit. We're going to pick our MLB award winners, just the major ones. But you look at a team like Boston, who has taken the league by storm. When everybody thought that who was going to be the big powerhouse team, a lot of people were picking the Astros, but then a couple people were saying, don't sleep on the Red Sox. They got off to a great start. Them and the Yankees getting in the brawl in the beginning of the year, and then when Boston went on like a 13-game win streak, they started losing. The Yankees went on like a 12-game win streak or something like that. Almost kind of felt like the rivalry was renewed, especially after the brawl.
Definitely was. So fun to see.
And, this is kind of what the AL East needed right now. If the Yankees can get hot again after a nice walk-off last night by Neil Walker, if they can get on a little bit of a streak right here, and if Boston starts playing a little bit, worse baseball than they've been playing, drop a couple, this could be a really fun division race coming down to the wire, especially if the Yankees and Red Sox have some late year matchups. But Tampa, unless a miracle happens, they're probably out of the picture. Even for the wild card, they're 9.5 back, 20.5 in the division. Minnesota, they're probably donezo. Cleveland has that division on lock. But something that I think is going to be better than the Red Sox and the Yankees, with hopefully the A's keep playing the way they've been playing. This division is going to be probably the division to look for besides the NL West. There's a lot of good divisions, but with what Oakland has done recently and made this interesting, because everybody thought Houston was going to be a lock for the West.
Oh yeah,
but then people were going to mix it and be like, oh, but don't count out the Mariners,
the Mariners, the Angels.
Then with the whole thing with Shohei Ohtani coming in for the Angels, That was also one of my other shockers. I thought there would be a little bit. I thought there would be at least.
I had the Angels as a wild card team as well.
Yeah.
I had 2 wild card teams that have completely just flipped the script on me.
Oakland, coming out of nowhere, like it's.
I had no idea at first either.
They're already comparing this to Moneyball 2.0. I think it's a little bit too early. I don't want to jump the gun yet because there's still also a lot of other good teams in the AL, so something could happen. In game 162, where we see Oakland or some other team that we thought was going to make the playoffs all year somehow slip out. But it's going to be fun coming down to the wire. I mean, so many good teams, a lot of shockers, a lot of good stories, especially out of Atlanta. Atlanta's a fun story, but
yeah, I don't know.
It's kind of too late to do.
It'll be fun.
It's kind of late to do postseason predictions, but we're going to get into our individual award winner predictions, which also might be a little late, but there's also a lot of debate going on around about this. So this
AL MVP.
I'll let you start.
Who you got, Connor? You want me to start?
Yep.
Okay, so now the thing about the MVP award, Connor, is it's so hard to judge because the name of the MVP is the most valuable player, and to me, I think it's what player is the most valuable to their team. And it's a stat that they've gotten in the last couple years that may help with that, but WAR, where it's basically tells you how valuable you are when you're not playing and how your team does without you. And I don't know. It's such a tough thing because last year Jose Altuve was the front runner. I definitely thought Jose Altuve was the most valuable player for his team in the league itself, but at this moment I feel like you can't really say anything less about Mookie Betts. And there's an argument because he has his teammate right next to him in JD Martinez. But that's what makes it a little confusing because if you have 2 guys at the top of the AL MVP race that are on the same team, how valuable are they? It's a 91, 92 win Red Sox team right now. 91 wins. How really valuable is Mookie Betts to that team? If he's not on the team, how many wins do they still have? Are they still making the playoffs? It's such a hard thing, but you just look at the stats, and it's so hard not to have Mookie Betts as the AL MVP right now for a Red Sox team that is on pace to have the most wins in the regular season in history. But it's someone that I'm going to point out as well, who I would like to see be the MVP. I just don't think it's going to happen. How about Jose Ramirez for the Cleveland Indians?
This man has been in the talks the last 2 years.
How about Jose Ramirez?
He's a guy that can do it all. I mean, excellent 5-tool player, excellent baseball player. But he's always just going to be that guy that's just going to miss it. He's always going to be in the talks, which is it's always a good thing to be in the talks for the MVP. But it's a shame though because he missed it last year by a little bit, and I think he's just going to miss it this year. I'm going to the other one in Boston. I'm picking JD Martinez. I'm going to explain to you why. We talk about teams being so valuable, but you look at what Boston had last year out of the DH spot and who was going to fill that hole that Big Poppy left, that big power bat in the middle of the lineup. They had guys, like Mookie, or Xander, or Benintendi, but those aren't the big bats you're looking for. You're looking for the guy that can go out and hit 40 home runs right now that like JD's doing. I think the big difference, or the big reason why that separates these two, is if you look at their stats, they're almost identical when it comes to average. JD has them at 338, and Mookie has 336. Now the one thing that Mookie has on JD is his strikeout numbers and the stolen bases. That's really the one thing. But when it comes to home runs, JD Martinez has 38 home runs right now. RBIs, it's 110 to 65 in favor of JD Martinez. Now, I hate when you look at power numbers being better than average, but in a case where the guy's hitting 338 as well. Like, it's not just a fact where I'm putting power numbers above everything else, because I hate when guys who can hit 30 home runs with 80 RBIs but have an average of 200 are valued more than a guy who only hit 10 bombs with 60 ribbies but hit 330. I hate when that happens. I hate when guys like that are valued less than the power hitters. But a guy that's hitting 338 right now, 38 bombs, 110 ribbies, 162 hits. I mean, I think he's a little bit more deserving of Mookie.
Good. Either one. If we were to pick someone we wanted to be the MVP, I'd go with Jose Ramirez all day.
Yep. I think
Jose
Ramirez.
Dude's
now, the
keeping
NL
the Indians in it.
is a lot harder.
Yeah.
Because you don't have the guys that are really doing it all right now. You look at the leading in average right now is Scooter Gennett. You look at the leader in home runs, it's Matt Carpenter, but then the RBIs only at 71. 274 average. I mean, it's 274 average. I think is good enough for an MVP. If those power numbers were a lot higher, but I think.
But yeah, then how do you stack that up against it? Look, if you stack up the MVPs in both sides next to each other, and you're gonna have an MVP that's hitting 274 and the other one's hitting 338.
Okay, then I'll tell you who I think my MVP vote is. Nolan Arenado.
And I probably think the most overall best player.
That's what you like to think, but somebody that I really don't want to hide behind the shadow, though, is Javi Baez. This guy's taking the league by storm this year. And I did not know how great he was doing until about a month ago. The dude's hitting 297, 28 bombs, 97 RBIs. That was your pick? I think, because also the way that I want to compare it is what do you have around you? And that's the thing where you can make the case where, but JD has all these guys around him. But his numbers are by far the best on his team.
And in baseball, it's a little different. Because when you're at the plate, you are hitting for yourself.
Exactly.
You're hitting for your team, but it's not football where you're the quarterback and you throw to someone and you have to trust for them to catch the ball. This is you at the plate by yourself.
But then also you think who else is on that Boston team. I mean, you can name everybody who's outstanding, and if they were at the top of their game, they could be competing for an MVP as well. And Benintendi, I think in a couple of years, he could be competing for an MVP. Mookie Betts, Xander Bogaerts, all these other stars. And then with Javi Baez, when you think of Javi Baez, you think of other guys on his team that could potentially win MVP awards. You think Anthony Rizzo. You think Chris Bryant. But then when you think who else could win an MVP award that has really stuck out on this Colorado Rockies team, it's really just Charlie Blackmon, maybe DJ LeMahieu, but that's really about it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And Arenado is a guy that so can Javi Baez. He can do it all, but Nolan Arenado I think is one of the best raw talents at third base.
Yeah, of course.
Outstanding fielding, outstanding arm, outstanding glove, outstanding glove, outstanding arm, can rake, all parts of the field. But that's my pick for NL MVP.
Alrighty. Connor's got Arenado. I'm taking Javi. Was thinking about him for a little bit, and then he brought him up. Kind of locked my spot.
I gotta write this down. So
he's writing it down. But I'm pretty sure we did this way back in March, but I don't know if we still have the paper.
I don't know if we do. I don't have that.
Because I think Paul joined us for something, and so the MLB coming to a close in the next month, and then it's playoff time. We all know October's the best month of the year. Football in full swing, and the MLB playoffs. So.
AL Cy Young.
Oh boy.
What?
Why is there only? That's weird. Anyway, AL. So that's tough. Toughy. It's tough. I feel like I don't even know, Connor. It's very hard not to have Chris Sale as your Cy Young. The amount of strikeouts and the amount of times he makes guys just look absolutely silly in the batter's box is unbelievable. He's at 219 strikeouts, but then you look at a guy like Trevor Bauer, who has 200. Actually, Justin Verlander has more than Sale does, and so does Garrett Cole. But also, Sale's been on the DL, and do you take that into a factor, being on the DL?
Yes.
Connor takes that into fact. So, when you look at it, without being injured, the entire season, and how valuable they really are to their team, I mean, there's so many guys right now. And here, can you throw Blake Snell into this mix? Even though he's on a Rays team that we talked about that is not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to make the playoffs. But they've been one of the biggest surprises this year. They have a winning record. And the dude's 16-5 with a 2.05 ERA. Is he the most valuable to his team? Like, that's what you have to ask yourself.
He's the most valuable pitcher on his team, but I think...
Can you just throw him in the conversation?
I think you throw him in the conversation 110%. Especially because now he's probably the only true starting pitcher on that team with the whole bullpenning experiment they've been doing. But with Trevor Bauer in the mix, I'm a big fan of Trevor Bauer.
Oh, yeah, me too. Very.
And if I had to pick one of these three to win...
He's on the DL, too.
I always forget about that.
I know that because I have Trevor Bauer and Chris Sale both on my team on the DL, but I don't know, man.
See, I take it into consideration because also it's... The Cy Young is basically the most valuable pitcher. So, are you valuable to your team when you're hurt? No. But also, it's something you can't really control.
It's just filthy to me to look up there and see how
many Cleveland pitchers there are?
How Cleveland, Houston, Boston, all you see in the top 20 is Cleveland and Houston, it looks like.
Top 11, all of Cleveland's starters are in the top 11 for ERA.
It's unbelievable.
I'm going to have to go with Bauer just to end this.
Connor's going with Trevor Bauer. Okay. Trevor Bauer. Huh. I mean, it's a good pick. That dude's got filthy stuff, and we saw what he did last year. He shut the Yankees down in Game 1.
Who are you taking?
Game 2. No, it was Game 1, because, yes, it was Game 1 of the ALDS last year. Trevor Bauer completely shut down the Yankees, but so we saw what he could do. Man. I mean, if we're going based on really how valuable they are to their team and just... It's really hard for me not to go with Chris Sale. But I'm gonna throw a wild card out there. I'm gonna just do it. Justin Verlander.
I knew you were doing Verlander.
Justin Verlander. I mean, this dude...
Knew it.
Verlander just is a horse, and saw what he did last year. Connor came in, really won that series for the Astros, and he's continuing his success.
Not even going to talk about it. Just tell me right now, who is your NL Cy Young?
Not even close. I'm just kidding. There's a couple. It's tough. Oh, no, you go first, Connor. How about you? I always go first. No, actually, you went first last time. I don't know. Ugh. It's tough.
Jacob deGrom, and if he doesn't win it, then I'm going to be incredibly upset. Because this man could easily be 16-0. Or every single start, he could easily be 27-0 with a 1.68 ERA, with 224 strikeouts.
Disgusting.
The run support this man does not get, and the fact that he's having a career year and pitching this great when the Mets are actually kind of irrelevant this year. Actually, no, they are irrelevant.
Yeah, more than kind of.
It's
just kind of sickening
it's
that,
just like,
that he's 8-8.
The fact that your season turned into a meme, basically, for the whole year because you couldn't get run support, and you're losing games where you're going out there throwing 8 scoreless innings, and your bullpen's losing it for you, and your offense can't score a single run. It's
This man just threw 3 fastballs straight, 3 pitches, 3 fastballs by Javi Baez, who might be the NL MVP. Literally threw him. He couldn't even catch up to it. He watched the first 2 and swung right past the third one.
If anybody
Just
else
look
wins
at that.
it,
Just look at that
if
clip.
anybody else wins it besides DeGrom or Nola, I'm going to be incredibly upset. The only reason why that I kind of shied off between jumping on DeGrom so quick was because of Aaron Nola. That man has had a great season, and it's just another reason why that Philly
Keeping the Phillies in the race.
Absolutely. Who is your pick?
You know, I'd love to say DeGrom. But I just want to see Connor be upset. So Aaron Nola.
I said I wouldn't be as upset.
I don't want him to be upset, but I don't know. I just wanted to mix it up a little bit, but I think Jacob DeGrom is just filthy, and he needs some kind of support. I don't know. Kudos to that man for sticking with the Mets and pushing through the rest of the season.
Unbelievable.
But
Unbelievable.
I don't know. I think that's it for today, Connor.
It's been an hour and a half, Cole. We were too excited to get back. These people listening are probably going to listen about 10 minutes, realize it's an hour and a half, and they're just going to hang up. Anyway, we have so much more in store for you. We are just getting started. We're going to talk more about all these NFL rules, everything that's going on in the NFL, a little bit of NHL, what we missed this summer, some big transactions, more on local sports with all the Buffalo sports going on, more MLB news, and a little in-depth look at the NBA and dynasties that we didn't get to today. But Cole Johnson alongside me, I'm Connor Priest. You're listening to Beyond the Box Score. Signing off. We will see you next time. Thank you.